one of the main things I've discovered is that students when they're going into exams tend to focus on retaining knowledge to take into the exam with them and making sure they have that knowledge at their fingertips. And absolutely that is important. But I think more than that, they also have to practice before they go in, that they know how to manipulate that knowledge. They need to get the full use of what they know to answer the question that they've been asked. And I think that's what students don't concentrate on as much as they should. If they were to consider the question and practice older questions beforehand, I think that would be as helpful or as useful, because it is definitely taking the knowledge you have and applying it to answer a certain question, and that's one of the key things. And it's actually the key thing with any assessment. It doesn't matter whether it's an exam or an essay or a report. You have to take the knowledge that you've been given or you've learned and apply it to answer that question. If you're doing anything else with the knowledge, or using the wrong knowledge, or not doing it in the right way, or answering the question, you're doing yourself a disservice. So that's probably one of the most important key things I think that a student can do before an exam.
When I'm studying, I like to use different coloured pens just so that it's a bit more interesting to look at, and it kind of breaks everything down into little sections rather than like a whole page of text.
Whenever I'm studying or about to do an assignment, my style is I like to do a bit of reading first of all, a bit of research on the topic, and instead of writing it out in a notepad, I'll just sit down and get my laptop out and start typing it so I can go over and over and over again and change it as many times as I want, because my handwriting's not the best.
My advice for studying would be always try and keep yourself organised and keep everything that you're going to need at hand, so you don't have to go looking around and distract yourself once you started. That's you.
My study technique is find a place that suits you. So it's a study space that suits you and your studying. So if that is either in the library, such as me, like in the library, then that's your place to go to spend the majority of the day there for like 6 hours. If that place is at home, spend 6 hours there. If that place is even outside in the middle of the field on a sunny day, that's your place for studying. Find the place that suits you.
In terms of stress, being prepared is one of the best things to cut down on stress. I know that in exams, when I was stressed, and I have been stressed for exams, it was very clear to myself that I hadn't prepared enough, and that's why I was stressed. I was safe in the knowledge that I hadn't done enough, and that's what caused stress. Whereas when I was prepared and I felt I'd done enough, there was much less stress involved in doing my exams. And there's also one other thing that students can consider is that generally, for the most part, exams are seen as an obstacle. This exam is what's preventing me from moving on to the next year, from passing a module, from getting there. So I want to achieve something and this exam is in the way of doing that. When in actual fact, the exam is an opportunity. The exam is given to you as an opportunity to show the people that have been teaching you that you have learned and you have understood. So if you demonstrate that understanding, and you demonstrate that learning, and you have been to the lectures, and you have been to the seminar classes, and you have read the books, then it's an opportunity. It's not an obstacle. It's an opportunity to sit down and go, right, what can I do today in this exam to show them how well I've studied, how well I've learned, and how much I understand. And if you change that mindset from it being an obstacle to being an opportunity, then hopefully that will reduce stress levels as well, because you'll be sitting saying, I've prepared enough, and all I need to do is show what I've learned and what I've understood, and I will pass this exam, and probably pass it quite well as well.
To stop myself getting stressed, I like to make sure I get plenty of sleep the night before, and I'm always really early if I've got an exam or a hand-in. I make sure I'm there on time, if not early.
In terms of stress, what do? I like to exercise, I like to eat well, I sometimes do a bit of meditation, a bit of prayer in the morning as well. Helps to keep me calm, and I talk to people about it. I talk to my fellow students about my fears and my anxieties, and that seems to work for me.
Just set yourself a couple of hours each day, sit down, write down the notes, and then go through those notes, memorise those notes, and then just keep on doing that. You're never going to get away from, you're never going to get away from nerves. Nerves is actually a good thing. It shows you care.
A very common thing that happens in exams with students is their mind goes blank. The shutter comes down and they can't retrieve that piece of information that they need at that time. And I think a very useful thing to do, or a very useful strategy in that position, is to move away from that, what you need to know at that point, that name, that formula, that date, and try and fix on something else. So if you're in the middle of a question or you're trying to look for something, perhaps you could leave a gap on the page and you could move and start writing about something else. Or you could move to another question and start planning out how you're going to answer that question. Or you could do something else to do in the exam that allows you to move on. Move to something else until you get something that you can actually perform with and you can move on. And I guarantee you that that name or date or formula will come to you when you least expect it. It just pops into your head. It's happened to me so many times. You fight and you face something and you try and retrieve that piece of information and it doesn't come, and then literally 10 minutes later it jumps into your head without any kind of prompting at all. So the best thing you can do is try and move on to something else within the exam and come back to that.